Dan, do you have anything?
The only thing I was looking at is we put on annual review on the, and just in case we have anybody complain in the future. We do that with all the businesses.
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable.
Have you spoke with your neighbors or your?
Well, it's kind of funny because she's got some of her cups in Chainsaw Spirit shop there, and my one neighbor, Mrs. Cote, she started working there, and then my wife was in doing inventory, and she didn't even realize that was us that was doing that. So I guess in that point, I mean, it's not loud enough that she notices. So I mean, it's just a quiet thing. I mean, so
Great.
that's the only neighbor that really made. Well, there's one across the street or the back alley towards the back, but I hardly ever see them. So.
Okay. So the conditions as presented in the annual review are.
That's fine.
Sounds great to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you bet.
All right. Okay. Michelle, do you want to move or go ahead?
Yeah, I'll move it, and I too was going to suggest that we put an annual review on there, just in case something happens in the future. But if you're good with that, yeah, I'll move it.
Okay, so Michelle's moved approval of development application 22/01 with conditions as presented and the addition of an annual review. All those in favor? Carried. Missing my blurb and I can't remember, but your development has been approved. It will be subject to advertising in the Cypress Courier for 2 consecutive weeks. If the 21 days. If you have any questions, okay. So if there's the opposition from great, thank you. So I've got it written right here. I'd like to say my memory's good, but I'd be lying to you.
Mine too.
Okay, so your development permit has been approved subject to the meetings of the conditions previously discussed. The county will mail you a copy of your development permit. Since this is a discretionary use, there's now a 3-week appeal period that the public may appeal the issuance of this permit. The development permit will be advertised in the Cypress Courier newspaper for a duration of 3 consecutive weeks. If no appeal is filed within 21 days from the date of issue, the development permit will become valid at that time. If you have any further questions, you may contact the development officer to discuss them after today's meeting. Okay. Thanks,
Sounds
Mr.
good.
Crucial.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so we have Brost developments coming in at 10:30. Can you just advise me if there's anybody waiting so that we can slot them in, because we don't have a real full agenda. So, okay. All right, so let's move on to the planner's report. Any discussions regarding the planner's report at this time? Planner have anything additional to add to the planner's report?
The only addition, Mr. Chairman, I don't know that I included it in my report submitted last week, but we've scheduled the final round of stakeholder engagement sessions for the land use bylaw. So those will be held on the evening of February 24th and then during the day on February 25th. And same as previous, they'll be by registration only due to the COVID pandemic. So if anyone from the Planning Commission is wishing to come in and come to one of those sessions, let myself, Becky, or Ingrid know, and we'll schedule you.
Thank you. Thank you. Dan moves approval of the planner's report as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Do we want to talk about the yearly permit comparison at this point in time? Becky, you going to talk about that? Okay, great. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a comparison that we do for you guys every year. So we give you a chart of basically break down the permits per category, I guess, is the best way to describe that. So you can just see what we've been doing throughout the year, and then we've compared that over the last 4 years as well. So probably the biggest thing to note is the huge increase in renewable energy last year. So that was a big one. But This is for information, and we would require a motion for this.
Michelle moves approval. Oh, you have a, okay, all right. All right, go ahead.
What's the miscellaneous? Just curious.
Gosh, I'd have to remember now we went through, but if it didn't fit in a category, Ingrid, do you remember what we, trying to think of maybe a coverall building or something that was random. It was very minimal. There was like 2. Yeah. I can double check for you and get back to you.
No, that's all right. I was just curious. Just because it looks, you know, everything else is all laid out, and then all of a sudden there's this little chunk of miscellaneous in there, so. Okay, well, I'll move it.
All right, Michelle moves approval of the yearly permit comparison chart as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, so now on to the annual review of permits. So we have a nice little list there. Not a lot of changes this year. Want to talk about that, Becky?
Sure, yeah. So these are all the permits that we've put on the annual review list. And I've proposed to remove 2 this year that have been replaced with permits later on. So 19/100, Kenzie Schultz, she applied for, it was a change in location for her home occupation. So the first one was off-site, so we would propose to remove that as it's been replaced. And 2111 was replaced with 21127, and that was change of applicant name, basically.
Okay. Any questions or discussion regarding the annual review permits?
Can the Schultz one, she does still have the business going, it's just not at that location?
Correct. She had originally applied at another location and then reapplied at her home. They moved it to their own property.
Okay, and we have annual review on that new one? Okay.
It was replaced with 21/12, so you'll see that near the bottom, further down. So it remains on the list, it's just under a different permit number.
Just a friendly reminder, Mr. Chairman, that each permit that's removed from annual review needs its own individual motion.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so we'll deal with first one, 19/100, Kenzie Schultz. Does someone wish to move the removal of that from the annual permits? Lloyd, up to the plate. All those in favor? Carried. The next one that we need a motion for is Nicole Newbar, and that was a move as well, right? Okay, so we've got a motion to remove. No, what's that one now? Okay, there. Jeremy moves a removal of 20/111. All those in favor? Carried. Any other discussion regarding that? Go ahead, Michelle.
What is placement of a temporary explosives magazine?
Who wants to talk about that?
So that we approved that just recently. So Quentin Pancoast has, they're essentially a bunker that he's keeping explosives in for out-of-town companies. I know you can probably speak more to it.
Fracking.
Yeah, correct. It's for oil and gas and fracking, and when they have to do wells and that sort of stuff. So.
But now it makes sense. For the oil and gas, that's cool.
Okay, so we've got, we have nothing under land use amendments. That's correct, right?
Yeah, but you'll just want a motion, Mr. Chair, to receive the annual review permits.
Oh, right back to that, okay. So I'll entertain a motion regarding the annual. I hope nobody's watching this on Zoom, besides Nigel. So, do you want to move that again, Jeremy? Okay, so Jeremy Moves approval of the annual permits review. Those in favor? Carried. Sorry, Nigel, I'm not ignoring you. If you're trying to make a motion, just wave your hand. And Nigel moves not to move. I've got nothing else.
I don't know if I should bring this up in here, but I guess I'm looking for thoughts on what we should do with birds in the county. We have an issue coming up for council, and there's a bird issue in the area, and there's feathers going everywhere on neighbors' properties and that. So
No honking?
no honking, no. But like our policies, you were allowed so many birds, right, for each. For each place. So what are your guys' thoughts on how many we should have? And or should we be ordering to have netting over it all? Or I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
I have a couple thoughts on that.
City Medicine Act.
Are these, what kind of birds are you talking about? Big turkeys or? Oh, okay. And so this is a problem in the hamlets?
I know of some ducks that are in Dunmore. Let the girls plug their ears. Maybe.
Okay. We'll return to that issue. So are you here for a Bros development application? Why don't you take one of those chairs up front if you can? Now there's a speaker and a button there. If you just press the button when you want to talk, then we can hear you. Okay, so this is Bros Development's application 22/04. Go ahead, Becky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So development application 22/04. The applicant is Bros Development, and we have Aaron Bros joining us today. The owner of the property is GIQ Auction Alberta Inc., and the legal description is Plan 0613122, Block 1, Lot 2, and the municipal address is 2363 2nd Avenue here in Dunmore. The property size is 4.74 acres, and the existing land use classification is Hamlet Industrial District. The proposal is to operate an online auction business, GIQ Auction Alberta Inc., including the construction of a 1,600 square foot office building with the 16 by 3 fascia sign and to erect a 14 by 14 private sign. The applicant is proposing a business in Cypress County for the Municipal Planning Commission's consideration that specializes in retail truck and equipment sales, consisting of cars, trucks, trailers, agricultural equipment, and construction equipment, tools, and parts. In 2014, their sales platform changed primarily to online. The business is proposed to be located in an existing building and fenced yard in the hamlet of Dunmore. The proposal includes the construction of a 1,600 square foot building to be utilized as office space and the placement of 2 private signs. As the letter of intent states, the business will provide an online auction experience, a storage area for consignment items, and a location for on-site inspection, delivery, and pickup of items. There are 8 auctions per year where bidders can shop and bid completely online. It is expected that during peak times there could be a maximum of 20 customers on site at a time during an auction. approximately 50 vehicles varying in size for the week leading up to an auction, and approximately 20 trucks with trailers per day for a week prior and a week after the auction for deliveries of items and then pickup of winnings. On-site storage of items will be placed in the existing fenced yard as well as in the existing building. GIQ Auction Inc. expects to have 10 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees, which include yard workers, receptionists, administration, and security personnel. Hours of operation will be from 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for the yard and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the office, Monday to Friday. There's currently existing banner signs located on the fence that will be removed once the new signs are installed. The proposed site for the business is located within an existing commercial industrial subdivision on the north side of the Trans-Canada in the hamlet of Dunmore. The developer, as a condition of development permit approval, will be required to connect to the hamlet water supply as a requirement of the water and sewer bylaw adopted by council. As there is no sewer service in the hamlet of Dunmore, septic disposal will be required to be managed on site by way of a septic field or tank. The developer has paid the amount owing under the Dunmore offsite levy bylaw in the amount of $50,000 per hectare as a result of the needed water service connection. In the Land Use Bylaw 2018-04, there are no uses under the Hamlet Industrial District that specifically accommodate this use. Therefore, the MPC needs to consider if the use is consistent with the definition or general purpose of the Land Use District. The general purpose of the Hamlet Industrial District is to regulate the development of industrial uses in order to achieve orderly development within the hamlet. Under the Industrial District, farm equipment sales, repair and assembly, and automotive or recreational vehicle sales and repair is considered a Class 1 discretionary use. Under Section 63, off-street parking regulations, under the industrial or light industrial development, it states for an auction mart, 1 stall per 700 square feet plus 1 stall per employee. Under Schedule E, private sign regulation states that only 1 sign per commercial street frontage shall be permitted for each commercial business for the purpose of identifying the business. In addition, it states that no sign shall be located closer than 1.52 meters from the existing or future road right-of-way. In the Cypress County Design Guidelines, Section 9.1 General states that Cypress County may require the developer to enter into a road use agreement to ensure the roads affected by the development are adequately maintained. In conjunction with the road use agreement, the developer will be required to provide security in the form of a performance bond to meet their obligations under the agreement. In the Tri-Area Intermunicipal Development Plan, Section 2.7, Dunmore Urban Services Area is intended to provide a secure future land base for the orderly expansion of the hamlet of Dunmore. The hamlet is considered as an alternative regional option for the development of a fully serviced community in the long term. In the Dunmore Master Area Structure Plan, Section 5.8, Development Concept Policy states that applications for development within the Commercial Industrial District shall consider potential land use conflicts and long-term implications of the proposal on existing and future adjacent uses. Development within the Commercial Industrial District shall be a mix of compatible and complementary commercial and light industrial uses. So I did circulate the application. And the City of Medicine Hat, at the time of writing the report, there were no comments received. The Town of Redcliffe replied that they have reviewed the proposed development permit application as forwarded and offers no comments. Alberta Transportation has issued a roadside development permit already for this proposal, permit number 6113-22. CP Rail, there were no comments received at the time of writing this report. Cypress County Public Works replied that the pavement on 2nd Avenue will need to be extended approximately 160 meters to the entrance of the property to prevent dust and washboard. In addition, the entrance on the northwest end of the property exits onto a CP Rail right-of-way, so permission will be required from CP Rail prior to utilizing the entrance. Furthermore, the proposed business is required to have designated parking within the yard, and there's to be no staging or parking of vehicles on 2nd Avenue. Cypress County Utilities replied that the water service connection must access the water distribution line that is located approximately 240 meters east of the proposed office building. The developer is not able to connect to the water supply line that runs along the front of the property. The developer can choose how they will address wastewater, as Cypress County does not provide this service. And Cypress County Fire Services reviewed the application and has no concerns. So I do have some pictures. When we had snow, it looks like. So this is looking southeast, back towards Dunmore. So you can see the existing building and yard site to the left, with Highway 1 on the right side. So this is just a little further back, so you can see 2nd Avenue, the full yard with the CP tracks in the background. And from 2nd Ave looking north, this is the entrance that Public Works is speaking about. So this entrance enters onto CP Rail property. So to use this, then CP Rail should be contacted. So this is the main entrance off of 2nd Avenue. And we're looking northeast at the existing building in the general area of where the proposed building would go. And then just northwest, 2nd Avenue with Highway 1 to the left. And this just shows where the pavement ends, and there's an arrow pointing at the entrance. I think that's it. So I'll move on to my proposal, or my recommendation, sorry. That would be option 1 is to approve development permit application 2204, subject to the following conditions and with the understanding the business will be constructed and operated as outlined in the submitted application. Any changes to the business must be submitted for approval by the development officer or municipal planning commission. So numbers 1 through 5 are standard conditions, so we'll jump to number 6, which is hours of operation shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Number 7, subject to a maximum of 12 employees. Number 8, the applicant is responsible to obtain any necessary approvals from Alberta Motor Vehicle Industry Council. A copy of the approval must be submitted to Cypress County. Number 9, it is the developer's responsibility to enter into a road use agreement where required by Cypress County Public Works. Number 10, the developer is required to enter into a municipal services agreement with Cypress County and to be in compliance with the terms of the agreement for the installation of a water service connection from the county's distribution line located to the east and for the upgrading of 2nd Avenue to a paved surface up to the property entrance. The developer is required to provide security in the form of an irrevocable letter of credit for the upgrading of 2nd Avenue. The municipal services agreement is to be executed and registered with Alberta Land Titles prior to commencement. Number 11, the applicant is responsible to obtain any necessary approvals from Alberta Transportation for the placement of the 2 signs prior to commencement. A copy of the approval must be submitted to Cypress County. Number 12, no additional signs will be permitted without prior approval by Cypress County. The existing banner signs must be removed within 1 month of the approved signs being erected. Number 13, no on-street parking or staging of vehicles is permitted. The applicant is required to contain required parking areas on private property. Number 14, the applicant is responsible to obtain any necessary approvals from CP Rail for the use of the northwest entrance. A copy of the approvals to be submitted to Cypress County. And number 15, subject to annual review. And that is my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Becky. Would the applicant like to speak to your application or the conditions presented?
Nope, I have nothing to add. Acceptable conditions.
Okay, we'll open the floor to discussion. Planning Commission. Go ahead, Michelle.
I just have a question about parking. When you got 50 vehicles coming in and out of there, and you could there's room on your property to park this and not on Second Ave? That won't be an issue?
I believe the 50 vehicles noted are for auction. Like typically, it's not attendees of the auction necessarily. Yeah, so yeah, mostly with that. But attendees would have opportunity to park on site as well. I believe the owners will be paving a parking lot inside the property as well.
So just to follow up on that, if I may, so there's, for their auctions then, where will the attendees be? There's not enough room on the site for the attendee parking, so they'll have to be doing off-site parking?
No, the auction is conducted online.
So there's no in-person attendance?
Right, so attendees on site would be those picking up and dropping off. There's a bit of a landing area for items being auctioned.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead, Dan.
it says in here that there could be 20 customers on site for the auction. That's what was in the... So if there's 20 on site for the auction and then you got 10 employees, or 12 for an auction, not everybody's doubling up. You're looking at probably 30 sites there you're going to need for parking for the auction. So what do we follow for, I'll use mine, the bar. Like so many people, we had that broken out a couple of years ago, didn't we, for all the parking? But I can't remember what the bylaws were.
Yeah, so we do have a parking regulation section, which I did quote in the under the land use bylaw for what's required for an auction mart. I'm just gonna try and jump to it. So it says off-street parking shall be provided in accordance with the type of development proposed, which the auction, it's probably faster for me to go to my report. So it's one stall per 700 square feet plus a stall for an employee. So you want me to do math on the square footage? Hold on.
No, it's easier just to do the math. If you got one per employee, you're stating 12 per auction, and then if you got 20 people coming, so if you put in 30 parking stalls, it should cover what you need off of what they're providing for us today, correct?
And if there's an annual review and there's more attendees lining the roads, then we can adjust that at that time? Is that your thought?
So do we just want to start with 30 parking stalls?
Sounds fine to me.
Do you have the room for that, or?
Yeah, I'm just like, I guess if you view the lot, it's kind of a wide open parking lot. Is it important to have designated stalls? And another note is one of the conditions of the permit is that no on-street parking is allowed. So I guess, is there a need to actually make that designation?
Good point.
Well, like you said, there's annual review on it. If it's a problem in a year's time, then we'll address it then. And
Yeah, I don't think it's prudent to have designated parking put in there. I mean, if they've got the room, they've got the room. Yeah, and it's a dead end there. So they're going to create their own problem if they start lining the roads there. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Through the chair, question for Aaron. Do you know if on site the applicants intend to have directional signage, so directing folks to where the pickup and drop off is for their auction items, and will there be some directional flow on site to direct that traffic?
That I don't know. No, I can't honestly answer. I know they have a model. They're running a similar operation in the Montreal area. So they're a very organized group. They definitely know how to make things work. So my guess would be, yeah, that they would have some direction there, but yeah, I can't speak for them here.
So maybe a friendly amendment to the conditions, Mr. Chair, and I'll let Becky chime in if she has any comments as well. But maybe the addition of the submission of an acceptable traffic management plan, which addresses on-site parking and compliance with the land use bylaw regulations. So it's essentially asking them for a site plan that shows how they're going to address on-site traffic, if that's acceptable.
Sounds good to me. We'll put that as condition number 16 then. Anything else? We'll let okay, go ahead.
So with the Alberta traffic approval here, I can't remember what number it was. 1 second, sorry. Alberta Transportation have approved a permit for this. Does that include the flow of traffic and stuff? Like, is there going to be any disturbance with the corner where they're coming out onto the highway there? Like, is that a part of that permit? Do you know? Or what does that permit include?
Keelan?
Yeah, Alberta Transportation had an opportunity to review the application and didn't express any concerns other than that they required a roadside development permit. And then at that time, the signs, we weren't talking about the signs yet, so that's why I included the condition for additional approval on the signs.
Okay, well, that sounds good. I was just curious with the extra flow of traffic with the big trucks that are already turning there, and then you have another 50 trucks or whatever on that day, like there's going to be a lot more going on there.
Yeah, and when the applicants go to Alberta Transportation for their roadside permits, Alberta Transportation requests for how many vehicles per day, what type of traffic is going to be utilizing that intersection. So any traffic that's utilizing that intersection, they request for that information and then they assess it. So I think if there was further concerns, they would have requested for some sort of a study to be done.
Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, if it's easier just to demonstrate where 30 cars would park, I guess that's, rather than trying to predict traffic flows and stuff like that, I'm, perfectly willing to do that too, so.
Yeah, so as you're the developer, you're not really the person going to be operating the auction, so I don't know if that information is going to be, I don't want to say credible, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. I don't think you can speak for them in that matter at this point in time. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's reasonable and practical for, as the planning supervisor has recommended, to have the applicant submit a traffic management plan for on-site, because again, it does address in detail if somebody questions or wants to possibly appeal the permit for that reason alone, then at least it identifies where, as Kayleen has mentioned, where the traffic flow is heading, where the designated area for the public parking is, where the designated area is for the staff parking, and where the parking of the for sale units are. So it's very reasonable for the MPC to put that on as a condition of the applicant to have to provide that.
Okay, Becky, are you ready to present your drafted?
No, I'll probably have to wordsmith it a little bit, but it should give you the general idea. Subject to the submission of an on-site traffic management plan to be approved by Cypress County to ensure compliance with land use bylaw, to accommodate on-site and designated parking areas and traffic flow.
Good job. Okay. All right. Well done. Nigel, do you have anything to put in?
No, I think that's a good condition we added there, but other than that, I am good.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. So Lloyd moves approval. So Lloyd moves approval of 21 22/04 with amended conditions as presented. All those in favor? Carried. So your development permit has been approved subject to meeting the conditions which were previously discussed. The county will mail you a copy of your development permit. Since this is a discretionary use, there's now a 3-week appeal period that the public may appeal the issuance of this permit. The development permit will be advertised in the Cypress Courier newspaper for a duration of 3 consecutive weeks. If no appeal is filed within 21 days from the date of the issue, the development permit will become valid at that time. If you have any further questions, you may contact the development officer to discuss them after today's meeting. Thank you very much. Okay, so next up today for consideration is MJB. Are they outside? Okay. Just maybe advise when they are, if you don't mind, Ingrid, if I can't see them from here. Yeah, we'll take a little bathroom break here, 5 minutes. Okay, so next for consideration today is 22/09 MJB Enterprises Limited. Go ahead, Becky. Oh, we're going to have Kayleen do this one. All right, go ahead, Kayleen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this month we have Jason Tweeten with Action Land Environmental on behalf of Gord Gukert with MJB Enterprises. So they're here to join us this morning. And this is for development permit application 22/09, and the applicant is MJB Enterprises. Legal land description is the southeast of 30, 10-3 west of 4, and the land use classification is A2 agriculture. And the proposal is for a temporary extension to the hours of operation for gravel crushing. At the January 19th meeting of the Planning Commission, approval was granted to MJB Enterprises for the operation of a Class 1 gravel pit. A development permit condition was imposed which restricts the hours of operation for gravel crushing from Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. with the understanding that the applicant may apply for an extension of the hours on an annual basis. This allows for the crushing application to be reviewed annually and for the opportunity for appeal should adjacent landowners have concern. Section 8, Resource Extraction and Renewable Energy of the county's Municipal Development Plan states that the county recognizes the important role that the resource extraction and renewable energy plays in promoting a strong and diversified economy. As the county continues to grow, it is committed to supporting appropriate and accountable resource extraction and renewable energy development while ensuring its compatibility among human settlements and the environment. 8.1.4 policy states that the county shall require that applicants for county-approved sand and gravel resource extraction operations minimize the adverse effects to the development may have on existing residents, adjacent land uses, and the environment. Under the Agricultural District 2 of the Land Use Bylaw, sand, gravel, and surface mineral extraction are considered a Class 2 discretionary use. So I'll jump straight to my recommendation, Mr. Chairman, and it is to approve development permit application 22/09. Conditions number 1 through 3 are standard conditions. Number 4 is that the operator shall comply with all requirements of Alberta Environment, including a guide to the Code of Practice for pits. Number 5, the crushing of materials shall be permitted 24 hours a day, 7 days per week for a temporary period between May 1st, 2022 until July 31st, 2022. And condition number 6, the permit is issued on a time-limited basis and will expire on August 1st, 2022. And I've added in as well that the development officer has discretion to extend the development permit for a period of up to 2 weeks in the event of delays or unavoidable circumstances without requiring additional approval from the Planning Commission. And that is my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Kayleen. Do the applicant have anything to say regarding this?
Just clarification on the last one, Kayleen, so that we're accurate there. So an extension can be granted by the officer with a site visit, or what requirements, like backup or reasoning, or what would be, just so we know what may be required for that?
So it's just to give flexibility. So if something happens with the gravel crusher and they're not able to make it out the week prior, we don't want you to have to delay to have the crusher come out at a different time again. So it's intended to give you some window of flexibility, or if the weather conditions are not suitable, those sorts of things. So if Gord was to contact the county and say, due to the weather, it's really windy, we weren't able to get the crusher out there, we're hoping to extend for 14 days, and then the county would review that and say that's okay. So it's intended to give flexibility so that we don't have to come back to multiple meetings within that time window.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what we were looking for, is that flexibility. So thank you. We're good on all of those conditions and terms, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Open for discussion. Dan?
Okay, when you came in for this, you said you need it for 30 to 40 days. Now you're up to 90 days. Why is that?
Well, as you can tell outside, the weather changes. We weren't sure on what the flexibility would be with that, so when we made the application, I think I said this term last time, we were shooting for the moon, settle at the stars. So 90 days gives us lots of room in that period of time with the weather conditions such as wind and hopefully moisture. Yeah. So that's the reason why.
Right. So you will be crushing for 40 days out of 90 days is what your speculation is.
Yeah, that should be about what our schedule is looking like right now, to the volume we want to produce.
Okay. So I just don't want to see it going for 3 months out there with people around there complaining. So if you're, say you're going to do 40 days of crushing, can we change this number 5 to say that you get 40 days of crushing from the first day that you start? And that gives you your 40 days, and then if you have any hiccups or breakdowns, you get, you got that 2-week window for anything that is in there. I would make the motion on that change, that it's 40 days from the day that they start crushing, and then the window's there if they have any issues.
Okay. I'd like to get a little more input before I accept your motion at this point in time, if that's... my question I have, and this is, do you have any response from the neighbors regarding a 24-hour crushing? Do you have any support, written support or anything like that?
So when application was made, communication with Kayleen was that we would just use all the support that we had from the prior month application to not redo it. So whatever supporting letters were submitted in January are also supporting the now February application. Was that possibly given out in the package to the commission?
No, I don't think that those letters were, but there was, how many landowners were there, Jason, that were signed? Maybe 4?
Yeah, all the
4 or
ones
5?
in the greater vicinity, the same ones that were here advocating for the class 1 adjustment.
So anyone with, did you receive letters from all neighbors within an area, or is it just select neighbors within the area?
Residents.
Residents,
Yeah.
that's what I meant, yeah.
That's correct.
So how, okay. So at that point in time, it wasn't a 24-hour crushing, though, that you were talking about?
So when we came here in January, we wanted the crushing to be part of the original development application. The commission and the staff wanted to separate out for a second one, which we agreed to at the time, which is fine, which is why we were here. So those individuals that signed that, we'll say consent, were under the understanding that crushing would be inside of it, because again, when we made the application originally in January, that was our intention. So that commitment or consent, I guess, that's why we have brought it forward with this and not gotten separate letters.
Okay. The letters, did they indicate 24-hour crushing on the letters?
I'll be honest, I didn't associate those letters with this application. I only associated those letters with the previous one. So, because they weren't submitted once again with this application, so I didn't include them with it. It was part of the previous application.
Okay. And that previous application had asked for 24-hour crushing.
Okay. All right. So you may, Dan has a motion on the floor. Can you repeat that motion again, please?
Okay, I'll move this with the changing of number 5 to be in 40 days of crushing from the first day of commencement. And then if there is any issue, they have number 6, that if they have any breakdowns or anything, there's leeway there for staff so they don't have to come back.
Okay.
Can we have a question on that, just to clarify? So the current condition has May 1st to July 31st. So is that going to be an adjustment to the dates, or is that 40-day window within the dates? How? We just want to clarify, how's that going to be written?
You can leave it to crush this year. You got 40 days to crush. It doesn't matter what time in there.
So
you're planning on consecutive days, yeah.
Okay, so we still have the 90-day window, May 1st to July 31st, but we can only crush for 90 consecutive days.
40 consecutive
40
days.
within the 90? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, sorry to clarify then, Dan, if we're still within the 90, we'd still need approval because we want to extend the 40 within the 90. And then we would need approval if we wanted to extend the days outside of the 90 also. Okay.
So I'm going to revamp a condition, and then I'll read it out to the Planning Commission to make sure that we're all clear.
Thank you.
Okay.
It was cumulative days, not consecutive, right? So in a row, 40 days in a row. Okay, okay, within that time period. Okay. Okay, okay. Yeah, if we get a 4-inch rain or something, yeah. Okay. That sounds fair. Good.
So condition number 6 would stay as is. And then condition number 5, what about the crushing of materials shall be permitted 24 hours a day, 7 days per week, for a period not to exceed 40 consecutive days between May 1st and July 31st. And then condition number 6 would still allow for an extension for up to, instead of 2 weeks, I think I'd like to say 14 calendar days, just so that it's clear, so that we're not associating it with 10 business days. So for a period of up to 14 calendar days in the event of delays of unavoidable circumstances.
All right. Okay, so Dan has moved approval of 22/09 with amendments to conditions as presented. All those in favor? Carried. The development permit has been approved subject to meeting the conditions which were previously discussed. The county will mail you a copy of your development permit. Since this is a discretionary use, there's now a 3-week appeal period that the public may appeal the issuance of this permit. The development permit will be advertised in the Cypress Courier newspaper for a duration of 3 consecutive weeks. If no appeals filed within 21 days from the date of the issue, the development permit will become valid at that time. If you have any further questions, you may contact the development officer to discuss them after today's meeting. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so I believe we've covered everything on the agenda for today. Next meeting, March 8th, 10 a.m. I hereby adjourn the meeting.